Welcome to Knitting Daily, where yarn and fiber takes center stage. Join knitting expert Uni Zhang, crochet ace Kim Worker, spinning and weaving fiberista Liz Gibson, and favorite stitcher Shay Pendray. Get started with the world's most beautiful fibers and yarns. Meet trend-setting designers, improve or learn new skills, knit along with us, and make time for yarn every day.
Hi, I'm here with Jan Gratz from Yarnmarket.com, and Jan's going to talk to us about a couple of very, very common knitting mistakes and how to fix them. Hi, Jan.
Hi, Kim. Thank you for having me here today. You know, everybody makes mistakes, and so from the beginner to an advanced knitter, it can happen. We want to continue to have fun. We want it to be a pleasurable experience, so we're going to talk about 2 common mistakes and the most common ways to fix them. Some people like to call this, you know, a drop stitch. Here's an example of it that we can look at. You see the ladders there in between. It's sort of like getting a run in your pantyhose.
And this happens when a loop that should be on the needle falls off the needle and it runs down.
Right, and you don't notice it at the time, and then it just keeps unraveling as you go through. Okay. So you want to fix it. You've got, the first step is, it's kind of like putting the fingernail polish on the pantyhose. We've captured this stitch with a locking stitch marker, and we've looped it with the one next to it. This one is actually attached to the row. All right, but to demonstrate that a little bit more effectively, I have the captured stitch here, and you can see there's the captured stitch that I'm going to get. I go to the row next to it, and I just loop it over.
To anchor it, and that prevents it from unraveling any more than it already has.
Right, so we've identified the shameful drop stitch. So now the second step is to move, to isolate that row, you know, that column. And so we're going to move the stitches so that they're half and half, or wherever the drop stitch is. So we're moving them over.
Just slipping them from one needle to the other. Just slipping them,
and just take your, you know, don't go too fast. And just slip them from the one needle, and I've done some of them already to help us. All right, then the next step is the actual picking up the drop stitch. All right, so unfortunately you have to take the locking stitch marker off. That's sometimes the difficult part, you know, you don't want to let it go.
And you're using a crochet hook.
I'm using a crochet hook, and you want to use one a little bit smaller size than your knitting needles, but you just want to make sure that the yarn will fit. This is a chunky yarn. So
you insert it into the stitch?
Into the drop stitch from the front, if it's a knit stitch. Purl would be the opposite. And then you hook it around this ladder that you can see. And then you just make the new loop, all right? And you make sure that it's about the same tension as the ones next to them. Then you do the second ladder, however many. I mean, you could do 50 rows if you had to. And then the last step is just to slip the stitch onto the needle, and then get back to the place, slip them over, get back to the place you were before you made your mistake. And then one other quick fix. This is called tinking, or unknitting. Tink is knit spelled backwards. So what we've done here is I've done one extra row. I'm not going to show the whole row unknitted, but I can show you the first 8 stitches, 6 stitches, because it is different if it's a purl stitch versus a knit stitch.
Basically, and you do this instead of removing all of the stitches from your needle and unraveling.
That can be pretty scary to unravel it all. And this is a quick fix if you only have a few rows. I wouldn't do it if I had, you know, 100 rows to undo. So I put it in the loop underneath. This is the stitch you're coming from, in other words. We're going to get rid of this loop. So I've got it anchored with my other needle, and I pull it, and then I'll do another one, and then drop it off.
And these are purl stitches you're undoing.
These are purl stitches, right. You can see the little bumps. The hills, some people call them. And then I've got 4 of those. So I've now done all 4. And then I'm moving to a knit stitch. So we need the yarn in the back. Just like when you're knitting it, it's in the back, right? So, and I think they're a little easier to see, actually. There you get the loop.
And pull it out.
And pull it out. And I'll do a second one.
Great.
And you're done.
Excellent, Jan. Thank you so much for telling us all about how to fix these mistakes. Next up, Uni and author Vivian Hawksborough are on location taking us step by step through tricks for domino knitting for lazy knitters. We'll be right back.
Knitting Daily has been sponsored in part by Yarnmarket.com, a global resource for over 600 yarns plus books, patterns, and other knitting supplies. Yarnmarket.com. Knitting Daily. Make time for yarn every day. The projects and patterns from today's show, plus more ideas and projects, can be found on the web at knittingdailytv.com. This is show 202.